Hello, this is Josh from PMStudent.com, and this morning I decided to go through a little activity to kind of audit myself on my utilization of email with my team. A little while ago I wrote this post, why do they ignore my email? And in that post I essentially talked about how I thought that the majority of people use email incorrectly with their teams, that the whole 80-20 email principle, that 20% of the email that you send out is actually relevant and useful, and there's 80% out there that really isn't used correctly. Now, first of all, for context, I'm talking about a co-located team. We're in the same building. We're even in the same general area. I really need to walk just a little ways down in order to go to each of my team members' desks. So I don't have the remote issue. In a remote situation with a remote team, things are going to be different, obviously, with email and how it's utilized. But what I did is I went through my inbox in my sent items and pulled out all of the emails that I had sent to anyone on my team and essentially categorized them. So I put them into some subfolders and did some counts of them. It took me a little while to do this morning, about a half hour, something like that. And I categorized them into these different categories, and I wanted to walk through them and share with you some of my lessons learned from looking at this. So I essentially had 8 of them that were specifically agendas, so in support of a face-to-face meeting, which I think is a relevant and useful use of email. Reply, forwards, and thanks. There was 10 of those. So some of these were like corporate communications. There was a forward of email kudos from upper management for the work the team had done, that kind of thing. A lot of that stuff I think we also touched on. We have a daily tag up, a 15-minute tag up every morning, where we talk about what we did yesterday, what we're going to do today, and talk about any kind of risks or issues or things like that that are going on, or that the team is worried about. The project FYI. Now, there were 3 of these that were not related to sending like a document or an artifact or something like that that's difficult to communicate verbally, but via email you can send that document over. 17 of those were due to project documents and things like that. So the 17 were mostly due to me not having access to our network servers yet, and so I'm relying on email to send a lot of that type of thing. The project FYI, these were 3 that I found that, these were also discussed in the daily tag ups, and these could have waited. So when I looked at those, these were things that I sent out, so I took the time to type them out in an email and send them off. Sometimes it was at the very end of the day, and then we talked about them in the daily tag up the next morning anyway. And even if it wasn't at the end of the day, it could have waited until that daily tag up for me to be able to ask that question. Well, these actually weren't questions, these were FYIs to the project, so I could have shared that information with the team in the daily tag up. So those are 3 that, looking at those, it's not like a really bad thing, like, oh geez, I wish I wouldn't have sent them, but in terms of being effective, I could have just put these on the agenda for the next morning's meeting, and that would have been fine. So I don't need to clog up their email box with those. On the questions, I found 4 of those. These were me asking questions of them. 1 was an email forward from the customer, so that was okay because I needed them to be able to see the context of the question. But the other 3 should have waited, again, until the daily tag up. I could have asked those questions of the team the next morning in the daily tag up, so that's another one. So asking the questions via email and giving information like an FYI, that type of thing via email. Those were the 2 things that I found that I really could have waited and talked about in a face-to-face manner. Okay, and then remote. 2 of these were due to me being remote, so I was out sick one day and I was working from home another day, so those 2 were, again, kind of getting into I'm mostly co-located here, but in this remote situation I relied on email a little bit. And then the tasking one, I looked specifically for anything where I was tasking them via email, and I didn't find anything there. So that's good, because I don't like tasking people via email if you have the ability to talk to them face to face. So those are kind of my lessons learned. I would say that on remote teams, though, I would add that if you can have a phone conversation where you do some of these things instead of relying on email for some of these, then that would be a good thing too. So the daily tag up that I do with my team, you could do that with a team remotely as well via the phone, depending on your time zones and if you can get everyone to be on the phone at the same time. But if you can, I think that's a really great thing to do. If you do want to see the article where I kind of blogged about this a little bit, it's at pmstudent.com. Why do they ignore my email, with dashes in between those? Or you can just go to pmstudent.com, scroll down to the search box, type in email, and it'll come up there pretty soon. If you guys have any comments on this, suggestions, you want to talk about how this is working in your area, then go ahead and leave a comment on the video, and we'll see you guys later.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.